When you're struggling to wake up, we've all been there. We've all had that time in our lives where we just can't open our eyes, where it's just impossible to move, to really do anything. Like you can't get up. You're there in your bed or wherever you are and you're just peacefully asleep. You're just literally if you don't close your eyes, you feel your eyelids weighing down like gravity is pulling them down, closing them for you. And it's nothing you can do. You have no control over this, you know what I'm saying? But when you're struggling to do it, this is what you got to do. When you're struggling to do it and you know you have to, all right? There are only a few things you can do. The first one is you got to move quick. When you know you have to get up and you know for a fact, if you hit that snooze button, if you hit that whatever, you know what I mean? You know for a fact you're not going to get up, right? Like it's proven, it's fact. It's not going to happen. You gotta move quick. You gotta just get that sudden burst of energy and move no matter what it takes. All right. Myself, I like to do a quick assessment, all right? I know I'm awake and I barely have the strength to get up, but I know I have to move. I like to do a quick push, like a quick up, you know what I mean? Like a quick whoop, get out of the blanket, you know what I mean? Now, am I saying it works every single time? Absolutely not. Sometimes I'll do the quick up and then I'll kind of, scratch my eyes trying to wake up, trying to move and stuff. And I won't lie, sometimes this method doesn't work. It doesn't work for so many people. Now, what I think might work, all right, and this is just me here, okay? I'm saying I think it might work to just all of the things that you hate about waking up in the morning, right? You gotta take it, okay? Now, you're gonna hate waking up anyways, okay? But you might as well wake up and get your day going. Get your day flowing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a real burden to miss out on whatever you're trying to do. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're late for work. You don't want to be late for work because then you get fired and you hate getting fired because then you can't make money. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to struggle to get up. And it's a daily battle. It's a daily fight. And I remember the good old days when, you know what I mean? You remember the good old days when you had to wake up for school or whatnot? And you remember those days where it was like, you didn't even need the alarm clock. I remember I used to wake up just naturally, early in the morning. Like I would just wake up and life was okay. Life was good. You know what I'm saying? But now, I don't know, it feels so different, right? It feels so different to wake up early in the mornings. Now it just feels like, man, I'm more drained. I'm more exhausted. I feel like I'm not taking on as much as I used to. Then why am I so sluggish? Why do I feel so behind? And the truth of the matter is it's really a sleep thing, getting the right amount of sleep. And I also think it has a lot to do with what you know you have to do. You know what I mean? It's like we get stuck into these routines in our daily lives and we kind of forget not forget, but we kind of know that the purpose of our day doesn't really feel as good. You know what I mean? I feel like a big part of why I woke up or why I was so easy to wake up as a kid or before going to school or whatnot is that it was kind of I had purpose that day, you know what I mean? I'm going to school. I may not have always liked school, you know what I mean? I may have wanted to skip it a few times, but going to school was just kind of this is what that was the life, you know what I mean? And we're kind of at a in an adult age where we have to kind of realize or see in ourselves that this is the life, but it's because it's not the life I truly want. You know what I mean? Like people who have the lives that they truly want, they wake up with purpose. They wake up they know what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? They have a certain drive about them. They don't need an alarm clock to tell them when to wake up. They just naturally, you know what I mean? That's when their day gets started. But everybody's days are different, right? Everybody has different lives. Certain people, like I think I mentioned this on one of my other episodes. I was talking about this nurse who works like a night shift, right? And for her day probably starts later than most, right? Like if she works the midnight shift, then she has to be up and aware and ready to go every single night. So that means maybe she ends her day at 7 a.m. You know what I mean? I'm just throwing that thing out there, right? That means she probably gets home, showers, like gets, you know what I mean, goes to sleep or whatnot throughout the day and then comes back at night or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So what is that? What am I really trying to say with that? Is that like, I think there's something to it where it's her purpose is aligned with a different timetable than maybe the rest of us. So you waking up at, let's say, 7 a.m. and her waking up at, 6 p.m., the struggle is still there to wake up, but it's just that like the time in which you go to sleep or the patterns are completely different. And everybody's different. Some people need more sleep than others. Everybody requires basic amounts of sleep, 7 or 8 hours, but I'm just kind of thinking from like, for myself, where do I naturally like wake up at? You know what I mean? Where do I naturally like wake up and I feel refreshed and I feel ready to go? And sometimes it takes a lot. Sometimes it's just kind of like I have to go do this, and once I get like a change of clothes on, or like I get out of my PJs, or out of whatever I'm sleeping in, and I put on like shoes and I get outside and I have to like basically wake up because I have to drive or I have to commute somewhere to work or to wherever I'm going. That's where it all kind of wakes me up. That's the wake up. Like that's me being fully ready and alert. But you got to get out of bed first. That's the struggle. When you're struggling to just wake up, open your eyes, it's so difficult, honestly. It really is difficult. Now, some people, okay, now I said that like I like to do like a quick up, but I'm still in bed. You know what I mean? So if you do the quick up, you have to follow it by getting out, going, and some people like to put water on their face. That kind of like wakens them up. I understand it, but it's just that like I've done it before and it doesn't really change anything. It just makes my face wet. You know what I mean? Like I still feel very tired. I still feel very sleepy. I don't feel woken up. Now, what wakes me up is doing all the little things, you know what I mean? Like going to the bathroom, brushing my teeth, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? Like those little steps. Then like getting all of my belongings together, getting to my car keys, my phone, whatever else that you need for the day, getting into the car, and then maybe playing some music. Like that's when I feel like I'm fully awake. But when I'm in bed, waking up is just, it's a constant struggle. It's something that we all face. But at the same time, I also remember there was something like along the lines of, I think they did like a study on soldiers or on people, or they make them go through like a test, right? Where it's basically you have to stay awake for 48 hours straight, or maybe it's longer than that. Maybe it's shorter. I don't remember the exact length, but let's just say 48 hours, right? They have to stay awake all that time and they constantly have to like move and do stuff. And they realize that like that's when people's true character shows out, when they get tired and cranky. And I feel like that's the same thing for when people wake up. It's like if you're naturally a morning person, or like if you're somebody who like wakes up and you're ready to go, because that's how I am sometimes. Sometimes I wake up and I'll be like, I'm awake, I'm ready for anything. You know what I mean? Like once I wake up, I'm ready. Like when I go on vacation or whenever I travel somewhere, it's like I know I'm in a new space. Like best example is last year when I went to New York City. I woke up every morning bright and early, and the time zone difference didn't really affect me because I was like so excited to be in New York City. I was so excited to get out there. And I think if I had stayed, I think if I lived in New York City, I wonder how quick I would be to fall back into my old habits. You know what I'm saying? Like the habits that I have. And then I remember when I came back, the time zone difference made me, naturally wake up earlier here. But then it only took like, I don't know, maybe the rest of the maybe 2 weeks later for me to like just fall back into my habits. And I'm not saying that it's good or bad. I'm just saying is like that's kind of what happened. But waking up when you have like purpose or excitement or a certain drive to you is so important, because that's what makes the struggle of waking up not a struggle anymore. It makes it just genuinely a part of, a blank period of the day, right? Like if I ask you like, oh my gosh, what's like the best day or the most fun day that you ever had? And, everybody's kind of gonna tell me their best moments or their best things, but nobody's ever gonna be like, I woke up and it was so hard to wake up that morning. It's like, no, they were really excited about their day. Anyways, what does this all have to do with struggling with waking up? For myself, I know that there are certain things that I have to do, or certain things that I really want to do, but then I don't have the quote unquote the purpose behind it. It's like I know I have to do this one thing, or I have to do like any number of things, and I'll get them done. You know what I mean? I'll do them by the end of the day, but then I don't know. It takes a lot of time for me to like wake up and do it. Does that make sense? So I guess it's kind of in the same way of what I just said. It's like, it's not when I try to wake up and I push myself quick, like a quick jolt of energy to wake up and get out of bed. That's not when I feel the most like, okay, I've woken up. I feel like I've woken up after I've used the bathroom, brushed my teeth, got myself ready, put on my shoes, gotten outside, sat in the car, getting my music playlist together, and then once I pull out of my driveway and go to wherever I'm going, that's when I feel like, all right, I'm the most clear and woken up that I possibly can be. Like that's what works for me. That's when I feel like I woke up. But when I'm laying in bed and then I wake up really quickly and then I quickly fall back into bed and I cover myself up with my blanket and I sleep on my pillow, it's so difficult. It's literally a huge drug to sleep. You know what I mean? It's natural, we need it, but it just feels like there are certain points in my day, in my life, that especially right now, where I feel like it's keeping me from, well, not keeping me, I guess it's more so myself, but the struggle to wake up is always something that's universal, and it's something that I think if everybody could, they really would like hold back on it. This is why you kind of see like people who are really devoted to their craft. Like I remember, who was it? I think it was 50 Cent. He said something like along the lines of like, he was like working on an album, or he was working on like one of his businesses or whatever. And he was kind of saying something like, I can't, you know what I mean? He doesn't even notice that he didn't sleep, or he doesn't even notice that he didn't eat. He's just like, I'm working. It's like, sleep, I can't sleep. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm working. I'm focusing on this thing. He's like, I didn't even realize I didn't eat because I'm working. It was something along those lines. I may be saying it wrong, but it was kind of like, sleep is for people who don't know what they're doing, or something like that. It's like he doesn't sleep because he's constantly working. He's constantly focused on this one thing. And I definitely understand what he means. Like, I've been in the zone on certain things, certain times, things that I really like, things that I'm very passionate about. And I don't have an ounce of tired. I don't yawn. You know what I mean? Like, there were days where I can remember very vividly. It was like, what was it? It was like food was an afterthought. Like, it was all about the fun. You know what I mean? It was like, it's kind of like you're playing with your friends or whatever, and then your parents or whoever come up to you and are like, hey, you need to, eat lunch or have a little, have some water or whatever, right? And then you run over there, you eat it really quickly, and then you run back out there. You know what I mean? It's just like, it doesn't matter what you eat or what you put into your body. I mean, it does matter, but I'm just saying, for example, it doesn't matter. It's all about, it's kind of about that energy that you put into stuff. You know what I mean? It's like the thing that excites you. And that's why I feel like it's such a struggle for people to wake up. It's such a struggle to open your eyes and get your day started. And then for other people, it's not, it's a routine. You know what I mean? People fix their sleep schedules. People know when to park it. People know when to stop and tone it down, and, maybe realize that, like, I have to go to sleep at a certain hour. You know what I mean? Like, I have to go to sleep. Like, some people will be like, I have to go to sleep at 10 p.m. If I don't go to bed by 10 p.m., then the day tomorrow is going to be wasted. Like, I'm gonna ruin my day tomorrow because I'm not going to be as refreshed. I'm not going to be as woken up. I'm not going to feel good. I'm not going to have the energy to wake up, essentially. You know what I mean? And I like those steps. It's just that, life gets in the way sometimes. Sometimes you pull an all-nighter. Sometimes you stay up a little past 10. Maybe you stay up till 11. You're like, it's not that bad. I can still wake up. But then you push it back again. It's like, it's midnight. It's 1 a.m. It's 2 a.m. It's, you know what I mean? You keep on going and going and going. And then eventually you're like, I can't get back into the routine. I can't get back into that rhythm. And I relate to that a lot. Not because, routine, you have to follow a fixed routine. It's more so just that, like, having it in place makes it, there needs to be rules in order to break them. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you make a rule that you have to go to bed by 10 p.m. and you stick by that rule, all right, cool. You followed the rules. You're doing what's best for you. All right. And then if another night you're like, I'm pulling an all-nighter, I'm having fun, I'm having a good time, right? And then you break the rules, essentially, at least man, it's because I did this thing. You know what I mean? It's one of those. But anyways, what does this all have to do with struggling to wake up? It's just about creating healthy sleeping patterns, sleeping behavior. I think for myself, I remember I used to not sleep a lot. I used to have, I wouldn't say insomnia. It's just, I think I just had a lot more. No, I think I definitely still have the energy. It's just, the problem is that I don't have anything as crazy as New York City anymore. I think that's what it is. It's just that inner excitement. It's that inner you. It's what you make of your life that makes it exciting. You know what I mean? Sure, it may not be your favorite job, or it may not even be like a good job. You know what I mean? But it's still a job. It's still your life. And if you're not going to be excited about it, then that's why it's difficult. That's why it's a struggle to wake up. That's why it's kind of like groggy and heavy-eyed, and you don't feel connected to it, and it always ends up being kind of like, I hate waking up. I hate this. I hate all of this other stuff. And that kind of negativity definitely weighs on you. But if you have more positive outlook, right? Like, I get to wake up. Thank God I woke up. You know what I mean? It's just like you kind of have this moment, this feeling of gratitude that my day's just getting started and I get to have a day to wake up to. You know what I mean? I think a positive outlook on things would drastically change it. But positive outlook or positivity doesn't always make your life perfect. You know what I mean? It's still difficult. You know, you can love your job and still have a hard time waking up. I just feel like there has to be some sort of a quote unquote mental push for people. You know, I think about people who are very successful. I try to like see what very successful people do, and they always go like, I have a morning routine, or I go to the gym early in the mornings to get that in, and then I get my day started. Or you see those interviews where they kind of talk about their day. You know what I mean? It's like, here is my daily schedule or whatnot. You know what I mean? They talk about like what they eat, what they do. It's like, I wake up at this time, and then I, go to the gym, and then I shower, and then I eat breakfast, and then I do this, and then I do that, and then I go to work, and then I study this, and then, stuff like that. They have like that kind of a routine. And I looked at that, and I was like, that's great. That's crazy. That's really cool. But I wasn't, what's the right word? I felt as if comparing their daily life to mine, it wasn't really gonna match up all that well, And obviously it's an interview, or maybe it's kind of like they fill in some blanks, you know what I mean? Like, obviously things aren't always the same every single day, or maybe they try to make it like that, but I just know that for myself, when I see that, I go like, okay, these are the things that they do, and if I try to copy or reflect those habits into my life, I'll be brought up for success. And that's true to a certain point. I just don't know. I just think about different schedules, or how other people live their life. You know what I mean? But anyways, when you're struggling to wake up, I know it may be difficult. I know that it's going to be a hell of a, a big push. But I just want to say this. If you're listening, if you're asleep, you're probably not listening to this. But if you've just woken up, it's hard for me to tell people like, this is what you should do when you should wake up, is because they're like, your phone's not on. You know what I mean? It's off. You're not listening to this podcast. You're asleep. So it's like, how do I get across the screen? And I guess it's like, if you listen to this before you go to bed, all right? This is what it is, okay? You gotta push through it, okay? I don't like it either, okay? But you gotta do quick bursts, all right? First quick burst is just sitting up, all right? I don't know how you sleep. Maybe you sleep on the side or on your back or whatever. However you sleep, however you like kind of cozy up or wake up, right? You gotta burst. You gotta, all of your energy, all of your strength, just burst out of bed and just go whoop. You know what I mean? You gotta do whoop. You gotta do a quick up, okay? Then you gotta kick your feet out, all right? Next is putting them out of the bed and onto the ground, all right? And after that, it's just getting the blood moving, okay? And when you do that, you're more than likely going to kind of wake up. And you can get the blood moving by walking. Maybe it's by doing an exercise. I know there's some people who like maybe do like a jumping jacks. Like maybe they do like 5 jumping jacks. Something. I don't know. Any kind of thing, okay? Once you stand up, get out of bed, you know what I mean? You're going to make it through. You're going to push through. And we've all been there. We all have our own set little unique ways of doing things, you know what I mean? So just because I suggest this doesn't mean it always happens, but I'm trying to think. I don't know. I feel like when I'm asleep, my ears are very sensitive. So when my alarm goes off, I know my alarm goes off and it bothers me. You know what I mean? That's why I kind of stick to the same old alarm. I try not to mix it up too often because then, well, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe by switching it up, you'll like be more sensitive to it. There's also, I also saw this. It's like, I think I've talked about this before, but I never really thought about how do, you know, quote unquote, blind people wake up. I mean, deaf people. Blind people still have the same sound alarms. I meant deaf people. Like they don't have, their alarms don't go off. So they have vibration alarm clocks. And I thought that was like, oh, that's a brilliant idea. So they get this alarm clock, they put it under their bed, and then they set it to a time, and it shakes the bed. Now, it could be, you know what I mean? I don't know how powerful that thing is. Maybe it'll probably, maybe it actually feels good. Maybe it feels like a massage, you know what I mean? Maybe it just keeps them in bed. But I know for a fact when I get like a call on my phone or when it buzzes, like a notification or whatever, it will bother me and I'll go immediately to check, oh, what's going on? You know what I mean? But so if you got the, you know what I mean? If you want to spend the extra cash on like trying something new, I think that's a great wake up tool. I think that's a great option to, or like alternative to like sounds. Because if you sleep through your alarm or, you know, the alarm goes off and you can't hear it, then it's like, oh, you know what I mean? You just wasted the day or whatever you were doing. But if it vibrates, if it's like right underneath you and it vibrates the bed and you feel it, then it's kind of like you're up. And actually, I think that's like honestly, I think that's like probably the best thing for people is that like, because I know if I felt like an earthquake as I'm asleep, like I'll wake up, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I'm sure there are deaf people who also don't what's it called? Who also can sleep through that. You know what I mean? It's always a tricky thing. But anyways, long story short, when you're struggling to wake up, you have so many options to like power through it, okay? The first one is you just got to jolt up, a big burst of energy. I'm telling you, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, you know what I mean? But for me, I know that when I sit up like really quickly, I'll feel it. I'll feel it in my bones and I'll be like, okay, I got to move. I got to get up. You know what I mean? No matter how heavy my eyes are, I can literally be with my eyes closed and I'll still know like, okay, this is what I have to do. This is where I'm going. And then I kind of have like my whole, you know what I mean? I have my like house laid out. I already know like how to walk blindfolded. So it's just kind of like, ugh. Next, there's the vibrator. Not the vibrator. I mean like the vibration alarm clock. You know what I'm saying. There's the vibration alarm clock that kind of like shakes you up. There's also the alarm that you use. So if you use a sound alarm, maybe it'd be best if you like change it up every so often or make it like a very loud and obnoxious sound. So that way it's like, oh, I have to turn it off. I have to, you know what I mean? It bothers me if I don't turn it off, you know? What else is there? Some people like to splash water on their face. I don't know. it may not work for me. And I also saw that people say that like instead of drinking coffee, they eat an apple. Like that, there was like that study that said like if you eat an apple instead of coffee, then you'll have a higher chance of waking up. And I was like, I don't know what to believe anyways, anymore these days. I mean, these researchers always go like, actually, we found that this thing is better than that. And I'm just like, I don't know if I can 100% trust that, but okay, you know what I mean? Researchers, you know what I mean? They do the thing. Who are these researchers? Who are we listening to, right? It was just like, who do we know how to follow? I mean, there is also coffee. There's also ice water. Ice water, drinking a nice glass of ice water might wake you up. The cold might shock your system awake. But you know, things like that. I think they open your eyes and they get you to move and get your life going. But other than that, I honestly think that if you have a positive outlook, or if you mentally make your mind feel, or if you can make your day exciting, you know what I mean, then waking up, you know what I mean? Don't wake up for work. Wake up for another thing, right? Like you can make it whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be, I'm waking up because I have to go to work. Wake up because, all right, I get to listen to, maybe, you know what? Maybe somebody dropped like an album the day before, or somebody dropped like some new music. Rather than just listening to it that night, you say like, if I wake up at this time, I'll listen to the whole thing on the drive over there. Whatever, you know? There's no set routine to this. There's no answer to it. It's a struggle, and I feel you. I feel you. I've been there. We've all been there. And it's just a matter of, you know, perseverance and pushing through it. And we all know what that's like. The world runs on us waking up. You know what I mean? And we've all struggled to wake up at one time or another. But yeah. So thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. And wake up. Wake up. If you're struggling to wake up, wake up. Wake up right now. Right now. Right here. Right now. During this podcast, if this podcast, by some miracle, this podcast is playing, it just so happens to be playing, okay, as you're sleeping, you know, maybe you have some background sounds, right? If this just so happens to be playing, wake up. I know you can do it. You've done it before. You're going to be fine. You're going to get some sleep later tonight, but not right now. Go and wake up and do what you got to do. You know what I mean? Because you can do it. All right? Do your thing. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.